Hello, my kako. This is part 3 of my lecture on Mo'o Wahine for Hawaiian Studies 270. And we have here many stories about different kinds of mo'o that I would like to introduce you to for the different islands. It's really a survey. You know, we could spend a whole semester on mo'o. There are thousands of mo'o stories in Hawaii. So this is a real quick survey of the mo'o. Okay, here we go. Our mo'o stories are going to be the story of Puna'ai Koa'e. He is a li'i of Waikiki who loved to surf. And this story you can find in the fishing traditions that Kawahara brought out. You can find a similar story in Kamakau, and I believe it's also referred to in the sites of Oahu. So Puna'ai Koa'e and a li'i of Waikiki loved to surf Kapu'u. And when he went to Waimanalo to surf, he met this wahine, Kala Mai Nu'u, and she loved to surf too in the Sea of Waimanalo. So one day the two of them are out surfing, and she says to him, do you really like to surf? And he said, I love to surf. She said, well, why are you surfing in the small waves close to shore? Why don't you come out with me to the big waves out in the ocean? And so he followed her out into the ocean. And the further that they swam away, that they paddled away in their surfboards, the farther and farther the way got. And he kept saying to her, is the big surf out here? And she goes, no, not yet. Further out, further out, further out. And pretty soon, further, she kind of put a spell on him. They got all the way to Molokai. Yeah, she took him to a cave there in Molokai, far from Waimanalo, and he didn't seem to remember they were looking for surf. He just followed her into the cave. Well, she did have her way with him in that cave, and that's what he was there for, just to make love to her day and night. He never left the cave. She would bring him food and water, and she took very good care of him. Yeah, but he couldn't leave the cave. One day, he heard of a surfing contest that was going on down below the cliffs, and he begged permission to go. And she said, well, maybe tomorrow you can go. You see, the moral of the story is even if a woman puts a spell on you, if you're a surfer, the surf is going to wake you up from that spell. Well, the next day he was begging her to go, and Kalamainu said, all right, I'm going to allow you to go down and to go surfing. But don't talk to anybody. Just go down and go surfing. And as soon as you are through surfing, come back home. Don't talk to anybody. So he said, okay, that's fine. I won't talk to anybody. I'll just go surfing and I'll come right back, I promise. So she let him go. On the way down the mountain, he meets a farmer named Hinale. And Hinale tells Puna Aikoa the secret. Hinale is the brother of Kalan Mainu. And he says to Puna Aikoa, hey, how do you like living with the mo'o? And he said, what are you talking about? I live with a beautiful woman. Her name is Kalamainu. Hinala goes, yeah, I know her. She's my sister. And she's a mo'o. So from the story, we learn that Hinale, the brother of the mo'o Wahine, he has kind of a adversarial relationship. And he says to Punai Kauai, okay, you don't believe me, she's a mo'o. That's fine. When you're through surfing, you're going to go back up to the cave. Now, she told you not to talk to anybody, right? And he goes, yeah, she did. He said, but, you're not supposed to talk to me, but she's going to know you talk to me anyway. So this is what you do. When you come back from surfing, you go up towards the cave and don't make any noise. Go very quietly. Look inside the cave, and you're going to find that inside the cave is a very large black mo'o, about 30 feet long, and she's going to be eating spiders. And what you do is you take a few steps back and you cough like that. She'll hear you. She'll turn back into a woman. But she'll know that you've been spying on her and she'll be very angry. When she's angry, she might kill you. So, what you have to do when she's being angry is look at the ground, don't make a sound. Just look at the ground. And after she's angry at you, then she'll be happy again. So, Puna'ai thought, well, this is a strange guy. Now, the other thing that Puna'ai heard from Hinali was, Hinali said, one day you're going to get tired of living with this Mo'ovahini who's my sister, because that's her track record. When you want to escape, This is what you do. You get, you tell her that you are used to the very cold waters of Mauna Kea that your parents and grandparents used to get for you, and it's just nothing can be the same. And you get the ipu that she's going to put the water in, because she will go to Mauna Kea to get water for you. You know, it's a matter of pride with her. And you put very tiny holes in the bottom of that ipu. She'll climb up the mountain, she'll fill it full of snow, but by the time she gets down to the bottom, the water will all leak out. And she'll have to go back up the mountain again. This is going to take her a while before she figures that out. So Puna Aikoa goes, yeah, then what do I do? Hinale says, then you run to Pele, because Pele is the only person who can protect you from my sister. So it's up to you, brother. Have a good day. Okay. Hinale goes back to farming. Puna Aikoa goes down to surf. And when he comes home, he remembers what the brother told him, what Hinale said. And he comes up very closely up to the cave, and he's very quiet. And he takes a look and he says, I don't believe it. He's just telling me a story. But when he looks in the cave, awinoe, there is a very large mo'o wahine, about 30 foot long. She's black, she's eating spiders, and he's terrified. Oh my God, Hinale was telling the truth. So he backs up and he remembers what he said and he coughs. He makes a noise. And when he comes up to the cave, there is Kalamainuu no longer a mo'o. She's a beautiful woman again. And she looks at him and she said, you deceitful man, I'm so angry with you, I could just eat your eyes. And what did Hinale do? Say to Puna Aikoa to do? This is what Puna did. He looked at the ground. He didn't look at his wahine. He looked at the ground. He was very quiet and humble. And she was angry with him. And she told him that she was angry with him. But she didn't do anything to him because he was looking at the ground. And after a while, she felt sorry. And after all, he was very handsome. So she took him back into the cave and kind of forgot about it. She didn't let him go surfing anymore, but she just let him stay in the cave and make love to her. And she brought him food and water and anything he wanted, except he couldn't leave the cave. Okay. After a while, he remembered what Hinale said. He goes, this is not my life. This is not my life. I need to get away from her. So he said, I'm so thirsty. And when I was young, my grandparents always brought me the cold, cold water of Mauna Kea, the pure water from the top of the mountain, the water of Mauna Kea. And he kept talking about it and talking about it. And finally she said, oh, you were such a nuisance. All right, all right. I will go get the cold water from Mauna Kea for you, because that is my affection for you. That is my aloha. I will go up and get that water. And sure enough, she went up to the mountain of Mauna Kea. Yup, she went up, even though she remembered he was. And when she went to Mauna Kea, Puna Aikoa'e ran off to Pele. Eventually, Kalamainua figured it out. She was very angry again. Yes, she should have eaten his eyes when she had a chance. So she went to Pele, and she said to Pele, give me back Puna Aikoa'e, give me back my kane. And Pele said, your kane? He was my kane before he was your kane. Why don't you go find your own man? Kalamainua was very angry. So she called all of the mo'o of Hawaii Island to come to help her get Puna Aikoa'e back. Now, ladies, we know we shouldn't be arguing over a man. Very foolish. But this is what Kalamainuu wanted. She wanted Puna Aikoa'e. So she called all the mo'o of Hawaii Island to come around the crater of Kilauea. And all at one time they spit all of their phlegm into the crater. And all of this yucky vai mo'o came running down the sides of the Kilauea crater. And it almost put out the fires of Pele. That's how many mo'o there were. Well, there was a little fire left. And pretty soon that little fire grew larger and larger, and pretty soon Pele was erupting. And then we had Papa Amo. That was, I think, the end of that story. Except that Kalamainu ran away. She got away and she went looking for her brother Hinale because she was going to give him a hard time. Okay, what about the more of the other islands? That one was for Molokai. But on Hawaii Island, the famous mo'o there is Panaewa. He gets killed by Hi'iaka, male mo'o. Probably about 1,000 other mo'o there, but I'd just like you to know Panaewa was a mo'o. In Kauai, very famous mo'o was Kilioi. She lived in Ke'e in Ha'ena. She was the sister of Lohiau. And we're going to hear about her mo'o sisters later on when we get to the story of Karen Hi'iaka. Then in Maui, many mo'o in Maui. We'll hear about different mo'o when we get to their stories. For instance, Kapo'ulakina, who lives in Wailua Iki, she's a very famous mo'o. But I want to take you to the famous mo'o of the Lahaina. This is an artist's drawing of a fish pond that used to be well back from the shore in Lahaina, freshwater pond. And the area is called Moku'ula. The island here is the Moku. The chiefesses Ke'opulani and Nahi'enaena used to live there. Notice that this big fish pond has two little ponds. That's where the baby fish would live. And the bigger pond would be for the larger fish. I'd like you to know that unfortunately, this pond full of freshwater springs was filled in to put in a baseball field in the middle of Lahaina town. I'm not sure why they couldn't put the baseball field further back, Mocha, but people would like to restore this pond, and that's why there are modern drawings of it. Here's a close-up drawing of Moku'ula, and this is the island of Moku'ula. The pond is called Loko o Mokuhinia. I believe Mokuhinia is the name of the mo'o there, but also Kihavahine goes there. So Keopualani lived and died there. There's a church on this land where she is buried alongside with Nahi'enaena. Here is a carving of Kihavahine. Now, Kiha refers to very large mo'o. And this is a term used on Moloka'i for not the tiny mo'o you have in the house, but the big mo'o that you might find in a cave. That's a kiha. And the Maui chiefs are pili to the mo'o. Uh, so one day a child was born, a female child, um, an ali'i wahine, and she died early and became a mo'o, her name Kihavahine. She was deified upon her death. And this is a carving of the god. Now, at one time, there would have been hair attached to the top of the head of this goddess, Kihavahine. And here's a front view of her. Those are human teeth in there. Notice she has all the right parts, the right body parts for a female. Here's the side view. Kind of a scary woman and very powerful, in charge of water, a Maui. Now, there was a temple, a heiau, named for Kihavahine on Ni'ihau, right up towards the northern part of the island of Ni'ihau. Here is an aerial photo of that heiau. You can just barely see in the bottom where the stone walls are. It's towards Okay, so this ends this section, the third section of my story about mo'o. And next section, section 4, is going to be about mo'o and ilio. Now, ilio are dogs, and they are the animal form of mo'o, and that is why women eat ilio. They are the sacrificial food, or the food sanctified at the temple, just like pigs are the sanctified food at the temple for men. So that's the end of my story for now. And please look forward to the next story, which is part 4 about mo'o and ilio. Mahalo nui.